Hello again, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of Journey Through Sports and Entertainment. Great to have you along. I'm Scott Murray, along with
Marjorie Lewis
and Marnie Schneider.
And we are really excited that you're here as well. So for the next close to an hour, we're going to be here talking about sports and entertainment and all kinds of good stuff.
That's right.
Take it away. I'll let you introduce our special guest.
We have a fascinating guest. His name's Jason Spangler. Now, I met Jason in 2016. He was on the Texas Wesleyan football team, and I was a volunteer assistant coach.
So we're talking close to 10 years ago.
Well, it's been a while. Yeah. Oh, is it that long? Oh, my gosh. I don't even like to think about that. But it's been a few years. The season that we played was in 17. It was the first year that Texas Wesleyan played football since World War II hit. And so their last season had been in 41. Brought football back to Fort Worth, to the Fort Worth campus in 2017. And Jason was one of the players on that team.
Yep, a university in Fort Worth, Texas.
That's right. But one of the reasons that I wanted to bring Jason back is because he wasn't just a kid on a football team. He was 50 years old at the time that we kicked off our season.
Unbelievable.
50 years old.
He was not a coach.
Back.
He was a member of the team.
He was a member of the team. And everybody was fascinated. I can't just say I was. Everybody was in awe of what you were willing to do at that age and what you accomplished. And thank you for joining us on this show today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So tell us about that. What happened?
Well, the first question's got to be why.
Well, I know, but that's what I mean. What happened that you heard about it, and then why did you decide to do it?
I guess the easiest way to describe it is life was boring for me at the time. I had owned a business since 2004. I had gone through some things. I needed a rebirth. I wanted some excitement in my life again. I was single. I had always talked to my children about reading positive affirmations every day to try to uplift yourself. Mm-hmm. And my son called me one night and said, "This Tony Robbins special, you have to watch it. I Am Not Your Guru on Netflix."
And how old would your son have been at the time?
21.
Okay, so he wasn't 10 or anything like that. He was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched that, and then I just out of the blink of an eye, I thought about the news story I'd seen about Wesleyan. Mm-hmm. And I played softball competitively on teams with kids in their 20s, and I played left field. I was faster than anybody on the team. And I'm like, you know what? I never played football in high school. It's not like I'm trying to prove anything. I want to show people my age that they can do greater things than what they believe they can do, and I know I can do this. So I sent an email to Coach Joe that night, and at the end of the email I said, "When you're done laughing, contact me." And he called me the next morning.
He did.
And he said, "Be in my office tomorrow at 9." Mm-hmm. And so I came in, and he looked at me, and he goes, "You know what? You're on this team." And he immediately took me in and introduced me to Coach Paul Duckworth, and he said, "This is your coach. You're going to be on defense." Because I was a receiver in 7th grade, and that was the last time I played football. Oh. I was a gymnast, and I had done all the other sports also growing up. But
Now, before you go on with the rest of the story, why was he so receptive like that?
Number one, I was a former military pilot, and he saw some leadership, I think, that I could bring the team. And I think number two, it was a first-year program. Number two, he saw the zeal and the determination that I could do this.
Even at your age?
Yeah. And it was there wasn't a tryout or anything. He looked at me and he said, "You have 5 days to get registered for school so you can be in the spring semester." Because this was after Thanksgiving, right before they shut down for December. Mm-hmm. And I was able to get 5 transcripts. I'd been to a lot of colleges. They took away 50 hours. I had 126 when I came in. They took away 50 day one.
Wow.
But I was like, I'm good. I only had to take one class in the spring to be eligible for spring ball. So I took one class. And made it all the way through the spring. It was grueling. Mm-hmm. It was grueling. A lot of hours. And I also owned a business and was running a business, and I was also taking care of my mom who had Parkinson's and my kids who are now adults. But it was a lot. And they gave me 26 plays in the spring game as my last hurrah, thinking this was all it. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Thank you so much for being part of this. You really drove the kids," because I pushed the kids to be better.
Oh, you did.
And because I outdid a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And so they strove to try to meet the old man. And I came back in late June, and I looked at Joe and I said, excuse me, Coach Prudhomme, and I said, I'm coming back. And he goes, no, you're not. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, we want you back. And so I came back, and I
So
actually...
he didn't think that you would after
No.
that spring.
So I took a full load that semester, 12 hours, ran my business, ended up re-roofing a majority of the university. It just kind of fell into my lap.
That's his business, is roofing.
And I played the last 2 games. I was designated free safety and backside guard on kickoff return. And the second to the last game was against Arizona Christian. And I had gone viral on Twitter that spring. It had been retweeted 180,000 times in 24 hours because somebody posted my picture and said, how old is number 19? And boy, Twitter was brutal. I laughed so hard reading that stuff. I was like, how many?
What did they say? What were the best ones?
Oh, it was so bad. It was things you cannot say on the air. But I was laughing so hard, I had tears coming down my face. I was like, if you can't find some joy in this with these people that are jealous of what you're doing, you know, at your age, and they've never done anything like that, and they're spouting off on the internet. That's what's so wrong with the internet. But I got keyed on by 2 kids at Arizona Christian every kickoff. So I took them out of the play immediately because they weren't going after the runner. They were going after me, trying to go viral on Twitter, you know, like we got the old man.
Yeah.
And they knew who I was. They knew I was playing. Obviously, their coach had told them. And there was some very bad words stated to me that were ethnic in color and by those kids. And they kept hitting me after the whistle every time. And the third time, I grabbed one of their jerseys and used their leverage and threw them all the way across the field, and they ate it in front of their bench. And that was it. They were ready to come after me. So the next kickoff, they came after me again, and the whistle blew, and one of them swung at me, and I was able to come up underneath his face mask. And needless to say, the coaches were yelling my name from the sideline, but I got Special Teams Player of the Week that week.
Yeah.
So the next week, against OPSU, which was in Oklahoma. I don't know if you mind me telling this real quick.
No, go ahead. Oklahoma Panhandle State. This one.
Yeah, it's OPSU, and they put me against the best guy on the team. He was like 6'1", I'd say 220, and ran a 4.2. And I ran, the fastest I ever ran when I came in was a 4.6, which isn't bad at 49. But that
Not
was
bad
spring.
at all.
And I got helmet to helmet twice, right in front of the ref twice. And I looked at him the second time and I said, "You're not going to call this?" And he goes, "I live here and there's only 1,800 people in this town. I am not calling a penalty on this team." And I got concussion protocol twice that game. And then I got my helmet handed back to me 4 minutes later to go back in the game. So that was kind of my my whole jaunt with that year of football, which completely changed my life mentally. Allowed me to look at the world from a different viewpoint.
Positively?
Yes, I was a military pilot, and my dad was a fighter pilot, and I was raised in a very conserved, in this window environment. And to be inserted in with 100 inner city young youth black men completely changed my perspective on the world and how I looked at it. Excuse me, because I've become very close with a lot of these young men. I've been in their weddings. They didn't have father figures. I might have not always been the best father to my own children, which I will say I've never tried not to be, but they never had a father. And so they looked at me as somebody that they could go to and talk to that they had never had. And so it really changed a lot for me personally. The other blessing that came out of this is if I would have not played football, I'd be dead today because I broke a rib the second week of fall. I practiced with a broken rib, did not know it for a week until it got x-rayed. That is not fun, by the way. And a year later, it didn't feel right. So I went to my orthoped, who basically got me through that whole year. And I said, "Can you take a sonogram of my liver area because something doesn't feel right over here?" And she goes, "No, I'm going to order a full-body CT." And she did a full-body CT, and I had cancer in my left kidney.
You're kidding.
So
So
football saved
without
my
having
life.
broken that rib, he might not have found that
I
as
would have.
early
I
as
would
they.
have not found
Right.
it. Yeah, it would have been later on, and they would have.
Right.
It.
And
So we were able to do surgery 6 weeks or 7 weeks later.
did you get a transplant?
No, they just took 5% of my left kidney, and they were able to get all the margins. And I still have a scan every year just to check.
Right.
But
Right.
but 6 weeks after surgery, I went back and played spring ball, and they put me in as fullback, which
Good
was
Lord has
definitely
a
the wrong place.
crazy way of working, doesn't
Yes.
he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, as I've talked to Marjorie, I've been trying to write the book, and I started 2 years ago pretty hot and heavy, and then I just quit. So I'm trying to get to the point where I can finish the book. I have guys that want to write screenplays. They're interested in possibly doing a movie about it.
What's the title?
Football Saved My Life. So, and I've got the first 2 chapters, but I just don't know where to go from there because it's
Writing a book is really tough.
It is. It
Yeah.
is, and committing to
Yeah.
it.
But Jason, how about tell us the story? And I don't want to embarrass you because I know you didn't do it for no, to be recognized or anything. But the bicycle story, when you gave a bicycle to one.
Oh, Mark James. So, wow, I forgot about that.
Oh gosh! I mean, I was in the meeting when you showed up.
I forgot
mean,
about that.
yeah.
So we had a young man on the team named Mark James who had played at another college, and he's really an amazing success story. He graduated, but he was living in his car. And Coach Joe asked him to come play because he had evidently played somewhere in South Texas at a college, and gave him, room and board to allow him to go back to school. And somebody had stolen his bike, and that was his only way he could get around because his truck was broke. And I saw players laughing at him about the fact that somebody, and I was like, guys, this isn't funny. This is his only way to get around. He has nobody. No one's going to give him anything. And I was blessed once again to re-roof most of the university. That was probably one of the best 6 months I ever had in my business. And so I bought him a bike, and I shopped around. Didn't, go out and spend $1,000, but I shopped around and found a brand new bike that was a couple $100. It was nice. It was something he could get around in. And so I brought it in and I gave it to him. And there was no reason. I didn't want anything out of it. He just needed it. And he was the first young man that talked to me when we did our team meeting to introduce everybody at the start of the spring. He turned around and looked at me and goes, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" And I said, "It's an experiment." And he goes, "Pfft." And the blessing of that meeting, and I think were you in that meeting?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, is when I stood up and introduced myself. And when I told him I was a former military pilot, and most of my 3 children are older than most of y'all, the whole room stood up and gave me a standing ovation. And that was the first day in the program. I'm like, this is going to be something special.
Yeah.
Because these kids have respect. And the coaching staff changed all those kids' lives. Their graduation, to this day, I think their graduation rate is 82% for everybody in the program, which is amazing for a college football program. But some of the best men I've ever met that coached on that coaching staff. So it was very, very...
Have you stayed in touch to this day?
Oh, yeah. I talked to Joe. I talked to Paul, Coach Duckworth. Quincy Butler, who played for the Cowboys, was my DB coach.
Yes.
We talk a lot. Michael Rosas, who's still there. And I'm not as tied in with the program anymore. They had a coaching change last year. And I'm not going to get into that. But it's, I mean, the new coach, the new head coach was set up for success because that program was ready to do what they did this year, and they did.
They did. They went to the playoffs, won the conference. And
Carson Rogers had the highest quarterback percentage of any college quarterback in the state of Texas. So it's amazing. Their yardage per game, I mean, they set all kinds of records this year.
Yeah. So you say that you thought back of that football team. He had seen a story. You're thinking, you're bored. You see this story. A lot of people, they'll maybe go climb a mountain. They're not going to take all these hits from other people and risk so many concussions and breaking ribs and, not like climbing a mountain is easy, but there's not as much, pounding by other people coming at you and, trying to hurt you. So why was it that instead of something else?
I love competition. I'm still capable of competing at that level. I felt that I was. To this day, I still play pickup 7-on-7 football, and I've just started ice hockey. I'm not on a team yet, but I'm on the ice, and I'm 57. I'll be 58 this summer, and my kids even look at me and they're like, "Dude, just embrace your age." and I have a really good.
Dad, you're 57.
Well, I have a really good friend, Phil Koch, who pitched for the Yankees and the Tigers, and we talked about this, and he goes, "Jason, why would you listen to anybody? If you can do it and it feeds you, do it." And I said, "I do." I said, "But a lot of people look down on me and they're like, you just want to be a kid." No, I don't want to be a kid.
And you say your kids don't support it?
No, they support it, but then, my daughters were overly concerned
I would imagine.
about me getting hurt. And my son thought it was, hobby. And it was kind of a hobby, but it was a hobby I had to commit a lot to.
Did this come from your parents? Did you learn this?
No, I mean,
where did the, you told us how all of a sudden you decided to do this, but I mean, I just wondered, someplace there had been a seed planted as to somebody along the way had shared information?
No, I think a lot of it came from my military training, and the fact that I had to med out with my back because I hurt myself, and I didn't get to finish that.
Right.
And I felt like I needed something else that was not just working a job and living life, but something. The most amazing thing about it all is when my business was not doing well, and I was focused on the negativity 24/7, and that just continues to drive negativity. And when I focused on something greater, I had the best year I'd ever had in business because I wasn't focused on that anymore. And sometimes we have to redirect our mentality so that we can achieve more in our daily, even though you might not think it's important. It's important because you're focusing on something different and you're pulling that negativity away. It's very easy to fall back into that well. And I have done that, and I'm fighting my way back out of it again. So we go through ebbs and flows in life, but it was an opportunity I had. I was eligible, and it was an amazing year of my life, and it taught me a ton, and it changed my perspective, and that, I think, is the best lesson for me, is God wanted me to do this, and also it saved my life.
You say your daughter worries about you getting hurt. Okay, so you break the rib, and pretty much you spent most of the season, trying to get back, healthy. Like you said, you played the last 2 games. You were healthy at one point, and the second to last game was coming up, and I went to the other coaches and said, he's got to play. It's time for you to play. They were worried about you getting hurt. And so they were telling me that they were not going to put you in the game because they didn't want you to get hurt and the whole liability of you getting hurt. Well, Quincy was your position coach, but I worked with Quincy.
Right.
And a lot of what I did with Quincy, I had a lot of input on who would be starting. And so I told Quincy, we've got to go fight for you to play. And Quincy agreed. And so I have to say that I felt like your daughter must have felt, because I really pushed for you to play in that game. Now, they gave you the next game based on what you had done in the first, as I'm sure you know. But when you played in that game, I don't think there was anyone more worried that you'd get hurt than I was, because I was like, no, I really pushed for it. Don't get hurt. And you didn't. And you were so good. You were probably, and I shouldn't even say probably, we had some good athletes, but you were hands down the best athlete on the field, no matter who we were playing, when you were out there.
I appreciate that.
And so I've been wanting to tell you this. Thank you for not getting hurt.
Thank you. Well, thank you for fighting for me, and thank you for the opportunity. And they knew I worked hard.
Oh, they did. Everybody
And-
admired everything that you were doing, but it was
So you would have
hard
been
to
in
get.
your late 40s then.
No,
Oh, I
he
was 50.
You were 50.
Yeah, he was.
So what was
50.
your
And
workout-
it was hard to forget you were 50 because if you were 21 and you had that work ethic and all that, I mean, it was a no-brainer. But you still worry, you know.
Yeah, I
And
understand.
so what was?
So what was your workout routine, or the foods you ate, or how did you study? How did you know what to do to get yourself into this kind of shape?
I worked out for about a year before. It was just when I got out of the military, I said I'm not going to run anymore. They made me run 25 miles a week. I hated running. I took 8 years off completely. I didn't even work out for 8 years, and I'm genetically blessed, obviously. My dad's 91, looks like he's in his early 80s, and he's not doing super great brain-wise, but he's still kicking. So I started working out. I committed. I was actually working out 6 days a week, lifting and just cardio. And that had prepared my body for what I was about to go into. And when you get into the spring program, it's a military Friday. I mean, that Friday morning, if you don't see kids puking in a bucket, you know that,
You're not working.
Yeah, it's bad. And I was able to achieve more than the kids were because I was in better shape. And I was used to that background, so I knew I could reach in my mind and pull back and do that and push myself through it. But my average workout week was 23 to 30 hours a week on the field and in the weight room because we worked out 4 days a week in the weight room. So my schedule was in the fall, which was the toughest schedule, was 6 to 8:30 in the morning. We were on the field. Most of the time we were there at 5 because somebody showed up late to practice, so we'd have to be punished for an hour and then work out for 2.5 hours. I would shower, take a nap in the back seat of my truck, go to class, 2 classes, eat lunch, go to another class, go to afternoon weightlifting, and then go check the builds on the campus. And then I'd go work out again at night, three nights a week, because I didn't feel that the weight lifting that they were having us do was doing what I needed it to do for myself. I ended up tearing a meniscus in the spring because of that, because I took a couple kids and we played basketball. But my average week awake in the fall was 160 hours. So I was work, eat food-wise.
What were you eating?
I can eat anything. I still can eat anything. It's just,
I know.
Yeah.
How lucky.
And I drank, but I would drink protein shakes also to keep weight on, because when I started in
All right, rubbing it in a little bit.
Yeah,
It's okay.
really.
It's
I
all right.
know.
We get it. You can eat anything. And protein shakes.
when I started fall, I was 163, and when we finished fall, I was 153. And when we did max bench, I don't know, were you there when we
I
did max
wasn't
bench?
that day.
So I think what really set the parameters for the kids to work harder was the end of spring. Same thing happened. I came in at 165, which is the heaviest I had ever been, and was down to about 151. And I had never max benched. And we did max bench, and I maxed 345, and I weighed 151 pounds. So I out-benched 82% of the team based off a weight ratio, and the coaches became unglued because they were like, oh, this is going to change everything, because all the kids were pissed. I out-benched 90% of the linemen on the team.
Yeah.
And they were just like, what? And I was, now,
Even
the
though-
vein in my head almost blew up, but I had to prove to them that you can reach in your mind and you can do greater things than what you believe you can do. And it's easy to forget that. It is very easy to forget that from time to time.
That's amazing. So your dad's 91. Is your mother still living?
No, she passed 2020. That was kind of when I say it's easy to forget that was kind of my downfall, was Mom passing. Mom changed worlds. She was a strong woman when strong women weren't allowed. And so.
And what did she do?
She was a philanthropist. She started Mid-Cities Panhellenic, which was for sorority girls to get into colleges and get into the sororities they wanted.
Wait, she started the Mid-Cities panel?
Yeah, Janelle Spangler. Yeah.
Oh, Oh, okay. I've heard of her. I know who she is.
Yeah, she has national scholarship named after her.
Yes, yeah, of course.
And
I didn't put the two together.
yeah, so she did that. Supporters of the Shelter, which was for the battered women's shelter, and Dilettantes, which is a group.
And that's where I met her.
Yes.
Was at the shelter.
Yes, sir. And you did the golf tournaments back when I was a kid. So
when you were a kid, gee, thanks a lot.
I might have been junior high or high school. So you know. But.
Well, and he's 80 years old, and you
and he can eat anything.
And he can.
But yeah, so I'm sorry I detracted you.
No. Go ahead. Well, that's just. I'm just trying to think of just the foundation with which you might have had.
Strong mom and dad.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. That's why I asked about the parents.
Dad was a fighter pilot and an airline pilot, and regimented. Mom was the social aspect of it.
You see so many kids today. You wonder where they're going and what they're doing, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that mom and dad aren't there the way they used to be in the good old days, as they say.
Yep.
And,
all three
and the divorce. Somebody told me the other day the divorce is like 70-something percent.
It's
so
into the 70s.
Yes, that's like 3 out of every 4 family has a divorce. Become single parent families.
All 3 of my kids went through that.
Yeah,
I divorced in 2002.
Yeah,
so but I'm great friends with my ex-wife still. So
well, that's unique because that's not always the case.
Yeah, we've taken family vacation together in the last 3 years.
I remember you guys were really
in 2017 we did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So what as you look back on all the things that you've gotten a chance to be a part of, what's the one thing that you're proudest of? Because there's a lot of things you've shared with us, and I will ask you this too: what would you like your legacy to be someday? Somebody says your name and they go, "Oh my God, Jason! Oh gosh, do you have any idea what he did? Oh, that's the guy that was at Texas Wesleyan University." I mean, I just wondered what are you proudest of? What have you enjoyed the most? And then, what would you like your legacy to be remembered as?
I'm proud of having 3 loving kids that are compassionate, that care about the world. I was proud of my military time. I think I excelled at that.
What branch?
Army pilot. Okay. I'm proud of the opportunities that I've had in my life. My life dream has always been to be a public speaker. I love speaking publicly, but I don't have a platform yet to figure out how to do that. And I don't want to be a speak-to-sell guy. I don't want to be a guy that writes a book and then goes and speaks and tries to sell the book. I don't want to do that. I want to set a good example. I have had so many wonderful things I've been able to do. I play in a celebrity softball classic every year I think you see my posts, but we had 160 celebrities last year. Anyone from T.O. to Coffee Anderson. So we country singers, football players, baseball players, hockey players.
And what did they do?
We do a celebrity softball classic in Frisco every year. This year, I think it's October 4th. It's the 11th year. Last year, we donated $750,000 to veterans charities.
So who plays and who how does it work?
Well, Tim Klon, TK, is the organizer. He's a connector. He knows everybody. And he puts it together, and then he brings in the charitable organizations. And I think the year before we were able to donate $400,000+ to charities, and last year we did $750,000. This year we're shooting for over $1 million. And if anybody has any interest in that, it's celebritysoftballclassic.org, and they can ask if their charity can be involved, or they can buy tickets, or they can donate $1,000, and they give away.
Well, did you get the name
tickets.
for our 3 charities?
Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean, and I'm not involved with the charity. I just get to play in the game every year, and it's an extremely special weekend, and it's a family. It's a family.
Well, that's fantastic.
So
that's fantastic. Is there a number or something that a web address?
It's celebritysoftballclassic.org.
Celebrity softball. That's pretty easy to remember, huh? That's very cool.
I might need to look at that just to make sure.
And you've been playing in that?
I've played. This will be my 5th year.
Oh, okay.
So,
nice.
And I play left field when they let me in the game, because the first 3 innings is all the celebrities. Most of them are former major league players, like Derek Holland played this year.
Oh, he did.
Some very, Marty Turco. There's some very present names. Michael Irvin's been in it a couple times. Some of the older Cowboys back in the day when they won the Super Bowl have been in it.
That's right. That was three generations ago?
Yeah. Yeah, and after today's press conference, it might be 4.
Yeah.
I hate to say that. I hope that
I hope
something
he's
can
good.
happen, but we know the landscape. So
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Tom Landry was there for 29 years, the iconic Hall of Fame coach.
I know, and then now it's been 29.
And now it's been basically 30,
29 years since
20.
we last had.
it's extremely sad.
And yet he was the only coach, and since then we've had 9 other coaches.
9 others.
And
It's
it was,
just,
and I hate to say it,
and
it's an ego-driven thing because Jimmy came in here and he had the reins, and you saw what he did.
yeah,
And somebody said, "I want my name in the light," and bye. And we haven't had success since.
No,
right.
So
that's true.
Yep, sad but true.
it is.
Now, Marnie's family used to own the Philadelphia Eagles, so she's got a team in the Super Bowl. What is this? 2 times in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I really do. I mean, it shows you the drive. It shows you how they are connected to each other, because as we all know, it's not an individual sport. You're playing for the guy next to you, and it's hard sometimes to get that chemistry.
Right. Well, so I want to go back to your playing now. So you're talking about the guy next to you and get that chemistry and all. Now you wanted to go and play football. You wanted to push yourself to play football at the age of 50. Did you find anything out about the game itself based on your experience on how it's played, how much people, like you talked a little bit about them coming at you there. Did you expect to have some of these things happen, and what did you learn about what actually happens during a game?
Well, I truly did not know the game that well. I always played sandlot pickup on the weekends with the guys in high school. So I had never been immersed into true defensive meetings, and we did defensive meetings 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Went over all the plays, went over, what calls you're going to make, what zone, if you're zone coverage or cover 2 or whatever you're going to do on the field. So that was a large learning experience for me. I wasn't so much scared of getting hit by anybody. I think they were more scared of me hitting them because of the old man strength mentality. And I got that a couple times in practice. You remember Lamont? Mont, he's one of the receivers.
Oh, yeah.
I was playing safety, and he caught the ball, and I was chasing him. He goes, he's yelling the whole time, "Spang, don't hit me! Spang, don't hit me!"
Was he really?
And
that's
I ended up
funny.
tackling him in the end zone, and he looked at me and goes, "Thank you," because I got his legs. But I wasn't there to hurt anybody, especially my teammates. And that's a hard mentality to have when you're practicing and you're supposed to hit guys. And then you start thinking about, well, if I hit him here, I'll break his rib. If I, it's kind of, and that's kind of what happened to me. I had persistence, and we were doing practice on kickoff, and I was on kickoff. And there was a young man from Trinity who had come in who was a Tongan fullback.
Oh.
And he was my position that I was going after. And I wouldn't give up. And he got pissed. Well, he weighed 245. So he just drove me out of bounds and then jumped on top of me. And when he did, there was somebody on the ground with their knee up. And I landed on that knee with his weight on it. So it snapped my number 9 rib in half. That's how I broke my rib. But it's the mentality of I didn't want to give up, but I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
And so that was a hard thing to play with, being that I was in a violent game. And my mentality wasn't as violent as it probably should have been. When I was playing another team, I was going to play.
Right.
And if you got hurt or I got hurt, that's on me and that's on you. But it's not my intention. But yeah, I learned it was an uphill learning curve for me, big time. It's trying to juggle that with everything else I had going on.
Right. And then the days started so early. Can you talk a little bit about, excuse me, what it was like practicing? I'm out there as a coach, you're out there as a player, you're practicing under the lights because we had to start so early in the morning that it was still dark. You could hear roosters, as the light was starting, as the day was
you
starting.
could.
And
We were at Poly.
yeah.
Yeah. We didn't even have a field.
No field, no practice
It's an amazing.
field, nothing.
These kids had no locker room. They carried everything they had in their bag. We had to drive to different fields to practice. And for this program to even have been able to do what it did, was amazing. But yeah, just to go over a little bit of my day, I finally got in the bath. Don't laugh. Every night I'd take an ice bath. I did it for a year. 3 bags of ice in a jacuzzi bathtub. And I have a TV in my bathroom, so I'd turn on a late night show and I'd make a drink of Crown Royal because the coaches would tell me to drink and relax. So I'm sitting in an ice bath drinking 1 Crown Royal. And at the end of the year, after they told me to do this, the last day before the season was over, Duckworth sends me an article about how drinking alcohol is horrible for your muscles.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I'm surprised it didn't tear more stuff. But that also taught me something. I hate ice water, but I would go into that bath with swollen knees every night, and I'd wake up every morning and my body was refreshed and it was ready to go again.
Every morning at like 3:30.
Yeah, I would
4
wake up
o'clock
as
at the
late
latest.
as I possibly could. And I broke plenty of speed records getting to that school because I didn't live close to it. I even had a blowout one morning. I missed my exit because I was still half asleep, and I went ahead and whipped it through and hit one of my tires on the sharp concrete.
Oh.
And as I kept my speed up, the tire would not deflate. But when I got to beach to turn south, I drove to practice with a flat because I didn't want to be late.
Oh, wow.
And I looked at the coach and he goes, Jason, come on, we would have understood. We know you didn't sleep in. But I didn't want the kids to have to be punished.
Early.
Yeah. And
it was like a Field of Dreams sort of thing.
It
under
was.
the lights practicing.
It was in the Roosters, know, wasn't the best neighborhood. We heard guns go off sometimes too. So, in fact, and that was another blessing. The mentorship program that the university had created was one of the largest mentorship programs in college football. In fact, OU and TCU reached out to us and said, "How did you do this?" We had TCU alum on our mentorship staff, and these men would come in. We had 65 men, I think the second or third year. They were all business leaders in Dallas-Fort Worth, all in different, verticals, and they would all talk, and the kids would choose who they wanted their mentor to be. And we had young men graduate from college that already owned real estate because their mentorship was a real estate investor. So, yes, they owned a trailer or two, but they were renting it to people, and they already had a business. So, and some of these kids were placed in 6-figure jobs the day they graduated because they're mentors. And it's about the network, and it's about taking care of the kids. And Joe and the staff were able to build that program, and it's amazing. Program's really not there anymore because the new coach came in, and a lot of people walked away because they believed in the coaching staff that was there at the time. I think that's kind of why a lot of that has fizzled out. But they did some great things.
Why did he not want to continue it on?
That's a story that I really don't want to get into. Let's just put it this way.
His way or the highway?
There was nobody in the administration of the university that had ever been on an administration of a university that had a football team. So I don't believe there was a lot of support for the football team. We raised a lot of money ourselves. We got donations from Benny Keith for food because we fed the kids. I mean, there was so much work that was done behind the scenes by the mentors, the coaching staffs, the people that were aligned with the program that supported the program when I don't feel the university did. Now, I might be misspoken here, but that was my perspective from what I saw inside and outside of it. And I'm going to leave it right there. That's it.
Okay. So where's the university going to fit in your book?
That was a blessing. I mean, I to this day thank Joe for giving me the chance, and I have told him he's one of the reasons I'm alive. I've thanked Dr. Elizabeth Batterton for the same thing. She's now in Arizona, but probably the best orthopedic physician I ever had in my life. She kept me on that field. And I'm proud to have been part of it, the university. I'm proud to still support it. I'm at kind of an arm's length right now. I don't know the new staff very well. I went to most of the games this year, but I'm not as inserted into it as I was, so I don't. A lot of it's cloudy for me. But yeah, I'd say Texas Wesleyan University is a fantastic school. The blessing of that university also is the small classes. I mean, I had 8 people in one of my classes.
Really?
Yeah, and you really learn a lot. You can ask a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Who's going to play you in the movie?
no idea. I have no idea. And I don't know if the movie will ever get written. It's just something that was told to me.
Well, who do you think? Who would you want? Who would you choose if you're like, okay, Jason, we're making this movie?
Mark Wahlberg.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, he already did a football movie.
He did.
But,
He did.
Yeah,
Yeah, Invincible.
everything that man does, I have so much respect for him as a person and what he's doing now. He's not hiding his religion anymore. Not, how most people in Hollywood don't talk about religion or anything. He's out in the open. He's doing great things, but anything
Supports the military too.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
He went to the Adaptive Training Foundation, ATF, which is an amazing program, and I have a lot of friends that are involved in that, and they're involved in the celebrity softball game too. So it's all kind of centric. It's very military centric. Even though we're removed, I've been removed from the military for 25 years. I still want to be involved, and people in the military support each other. It's not every man for himself, and especially when they've been through things and they have PTSD or they've lost limbs, and I mean they've sacrificed so much for the country, and they deserve that respect for that.
No, and it's too bad that more people don't feel that same way.
Yeah.
I did a big event that I emceed on Saturday, National Defense Briefing Series, and it was created by the Military Order of the World Wars, MOWW, and Joe DePinto, the CEO of 7-Eleven, was the recipient of the Sam Johnson Defender of Freedom Award, which he was the third recipient, and he was a student at West Point, and then served in the military, and then got into business and is now the CEO of 7-Eleven. But it was really something to be up there on the stage. They had a former defense, all kinds of people, and the former Secretary of Defense for the was there. I'm trying to think of under George Bush, or I forget which one it was, but it's something. I never served. I was right after the Vietnam War, but I just, my son and I, my son and I went to Normandy on the 70th anniversary of D-Day with 24 World War II vets all in their 90s. We were on a bus for 2 weeks going to Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, back to France, and my son shot the whole thing. He's a graduate of Baylor, but in television film, though, so he knows how to handle a camera and what have you. And so he did that, and I interviewed them and wrote it, and we both won an Emmy for the documentary we put together.
That's amazing.
But, and I MC the Veterans Day Parade in Dallas every year, and was a recipient. I don't want this to be about me here, but was a recipient of that same award that Joe won. I was the inaugural recipient 3 years ago, because we missed 1 year with that. But that's named after Congressman Sam Johnson, who was in the military, in the Air Force, shot down. He was there for 29 years. And shot down and over Vietnam, and then was in the Hanoi Hilton in the concentration camp for 7 years. He was in concentration camp for 7 years.
You said Sam Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad flew with Freddie Flom, who spent 7 years in, and it was one of the gentlemen that came off the plane.
Really?
My father flew 100 missions over North Hanoi to start the war.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it never got.
Oh, you know what
down.
I'm talking about then.
Yeah, I grew up at Carswell.
Yeah.
My dad was in the 457th, so a lot of those guys flew with him.
Yeah.
So
it was unreal. Well, he did that for 29 years, and then was shot down. Then was in the concentration camp for 7 years, and then came back to the States, and then got involved in politics and served in the military. Or served in the in Congress for 29 years.
Yeah.
So his two daughters are very supportive of what he did and with this award. But yeah, it's really something. The military it's just so great to see some of these people and what they do. But you talk about Mark Wahlberg. You see him doing that commercial for what's it, T to T,
Tunnel to Towers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tunnel to Towers. Yeah, he's just so involved. So yeah,
He is.
Mark, yeah, Mark could be a good one for you
Well,
to be in your.
we'll see what happens with that. If I could get the book done, maybe we
Yeah.
can get something rolling. But the screenwriter that talked to me basically told me, he goes, "You get the book done, give it to me." And he said, well, "I'll write a screenplay."
You
Yeah.
know what? We gotta.
I think
Yeah,
we can help you with
we
that.
need-
I need
Yeah.
a ghostwriter.
I think we can.
I
think
really
we
need a
can.
ghostwriter.
I think
Yeah.
we can help you with that. We need to do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
definitely.
is a great story. When Margie told me what we were doing, I said, "He did what? How old was he?" I said, "You got to be kidding me." I mean, there's no way. And so it's
Oh no, I knew he had, had a great story.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get you scheduled
I
on our
know,
show for a
I'm-
while. We've had
Well-
some.
So what do
some
you do for
conflict.
fun now that
yeah.
you're not
No,
playing
we've
football?
we've only got
Yeah.
3 minutes left.
What
so
what else do you like to
Keep-
do?
keep-
Well,
it
my
brief.
son and I own a construction business and called Hestiad Construction Group, and I focus on that. I recently was dating for 6 months. That ended. It's very painful still. I go out, play pool, I play darts, I have a drink here and there, I watch live music, and I do 7-on-7 pickup on the weekends, and I'm skate. We're going to start skating a lot more once the Stars season starts, but I'm going to start maybe
Oh,
2
God.
nights. Well,
That's right.
the gentleman that has pulled me in is the Zamboni driver for the Stars.
Oh, is he?
well, why don't
Yeah.
you play goaltender? I mean, you're,
No, I want
you're-
no, I
you're only-
want to be a forward.
You're pushing 60. You're pushing 60. So
Yeah, I know.
Well, there's 65-year-olds out there playing, so
Wow.
I'm just trying to stay positive. Taking care of a 91-year-old with dementia is very crippling mentally, and that is one of the
Yeah.
things that's weighing on me right now. But everything will work out.
Yeah.
God has a plan.
So what's your legacy going to be someday? How do you want people to look
I
back
hope
on
that
who you
people
were?
can look at me and see that I was a positive person that did change people's lives. I believe God puts us here to change one life. I think I've changed thousands already with just circumstances, and I wish I could be that perfect of a man for my own kids, because we're not always perfectly focused on our own when other people look at us differently. You know, what if you
Right.
understand what I'm saying.
Right.
But I want my children to grow and still be loving and compassionate as they are, because everybody's always told me when they meet me, your kids are amazing.
That's wonderful.
And doesn't get much better
sure
than
they
that,
are.
does it?
That is.
And that
Doesn't get much better than that.
and that means the
know.
world. It
Yeah.
means you did something
Sure.
right. Even
Yeah.
through divorce and everything else, they still have that mental aspect where they treat people with respect and love.
Yeah, Marnie, 30 seconds. Any closing thoughts you just want to say to him?
No, I think we have to, connect you to Mark Wahlberg or even, whomever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think-
I know so many people would be thrilled to read your book and hear your story.
I just got to get the book done.
Yeah.
We'll help
Let
you
us
with that.
let the three of us know when you do. We'd love to help you move that forward.
Okay.
Be it Mark Wahlberg or whoever it might be. 'Cause,
All right.
Yeah. Margie,
Absolutely.
30 seconds. What
Well,
do you?
thank you for joining us. I think the viewers, listeners are going to be impressed with your story. And you say that you've already changed some lives, but I think when people hear your story, even now, you're going to change more lives. You just won't realize it.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on. And last thing I want to say, this is not an egocentric driven thing for me. It's something that I feel viscerally, and I want to change lives, and I want to create positivity.
Oh, we can feel that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I tell you what, as I say in my keynote, live your life as a go-getter, but share your life as a go-giver, and you're continuing to do that.
Yes, sir.
So thank you. This has been great, really, Jason. This has been above and beyond. So
Thank you very much.
yep, no, it's been tremendous.
And we'll get you back on when the book comes out, and we'll
Yep.
talk all about it.
You got it. and we'll even get a chair for Mark Wahlberg, and he can join
Yeah,
us.
there you go.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Thanks again, Jason, so much. Stay safe and be strong.
Yes, sir.
All right. Marnie, Marjorie,
Yeah.
I'm
thank
Scott.
you.
Till next time on Journey Through Sports and Entertainment. Like we said to Jason, stay safe and be well.